Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Irish Zone. I hope you're all doing very well indeed. I was planning on coming on today to discuss President Higgins. President Higgins apparently had a mild stroke, and I wanted to actually talk about that. But then, obviously, I seen all of the footage from Newtownmountkennedy in County Wicklow. And I'm going to show you that footage again. I have uploaded the footage onto the channel. So if you could do us a favor and actually watch the footage, leave a comment, let me know what you guys think. Obviously, we're going to show the footage again. I'm going to give you my opinion. And of course, if there are people in the chat that also want to give their opinion, you're more than welcome to do so. The links to the video, I'll put the link to Fatima Gunning. That's the account that I actually got some of the footage off, so that I'm about to show you. And also, there was another bit of footage that was sent to me by someone in our chat, Lindsay, so I want to give her a special mention. And also, apparently, before we do start, there is a screenshot. I will put the screenshot up now in a few minutes, but I'll just read it, because if this is true, then, you know, these people are absolutely crazy, in my opinion. So hold on, where is it? So allegedly, and I say allegedly because, you know, people on the radical left in this country don't know the difference between fact and someone saying allegedly. So allegedly, a 73-year-old cancer survivor that was arrested was allegedly pushed by Gardaí first. And I'm going to show you some of that footage. Now, I'm just going to say that when you actually see this, it's a quite shocking how the Gardaí in this country are operating. And, you know, a few months back at the Drogheda, outside the Drogheda hotel protest, we had some nationalists out there thank the Garda Síochána, right? And that rubbed me up the wrong way. Quite a few of us actually rubbed up the wrong way. Why you're thanking these people is beyond me, right? The Gardaí, unlike other police forces maybe out there that we've seen, refuse to stand with the people and are facilitating this. Now, if you're turning up in a sleepy town, County Wicklow, at 2 a.m. in the morning, right? The Gardaí in the public order unit, right? You're not going to convince me that this isn't rotten to the core. This isn't corruption, because it absolutely is. It absolutely is. It's unbelievable that the Garda Síochána are doing this. Now, there are reports apparently that some of these Gardaí don't even want to be there, and they don't want to be doing this type of thing. And, you know, I don't really subscribe to that, because the bottom line is, okay, I know they put their jobs at risk, but if enough of them stood together and walked out, right, it'd be a different scenario. With Garda numbers, with people applying to be Garda down, and the fact that a lot of their colleagues are actually leaving the force, right, and they're moving to places like Australia, who are looking. I mean, Australia had a recruitment drive over here only recently, trying to encourage some Gardaí to actually go over to Australia, and places like New Zealand are the same. And these Gardaí are leaving here and they're going over there. But the bottom line is, and the way I look at it, folks, it doesn't matter to me as soon as a Garda out there, whoever the first Garda was that put their hands on an Irish citizen during the pandemic, right? That was the line crossed for me. Okay? So these people shouldn't be thanked, right? Okay? They're absolutely vile in what they're doing. And they need to understand that the Irish people are angry. And they should be angry too. Because if they have kids and they have wives and they have a family out there, look what's happening to your country. You're literally putting your own families at risk as well. We've seen it all over Europe. Right? And who ends up getting it? You guys that are on the front line. Is it really worth getting hurt by these lunatics out there? Anyway, let's get into this footage. Now, let's hope we don't get any technical difficulties when I do this, because anytime I try to share footage on Twitter, it always goes haywire. But as I said, right, this is from Fatima Gunning's Twitter account, and it's in the link description. I try to give all of the people that have provided the footage here. I try to give them credit and put their stuff in the link description. So her Twitter account is in the link description, and as you know, she's a journalist from Grip Media. So let's get into this. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Be right. Brilliant. It's on screen, so we'll big it up. And we'll play this first piece of footage for you guys now. And that's another thing, way masked up. Why are they hiding their faces if they're not up to something? That's clearly intimidation. Look at the way they're even standing. Right? It's clear intimidation of the Irish people. And there's a Garda there, look. Why aren't they asking the questions? Why aren't the Gardaí saying, hang on a minute here now, there's a lot of masked men going in here, that doesn't seem right. But they let a masked man rob a bank. So that's the first bit of footage. So that's the first bit of footage there. I'll get the other bit of footage now. But what I can't understand is they're masked up. Do you know what I mean? Here's a photograph, actually, first, just to show you. You know, if this doesn't look dodgy to you, I don't know what else is going to convince people out there that, you know, we need to wise up here. Well, most of us haven't. But there's still a few out there that haven't. I mean, look at them there. I mean, they're masked up to bits. And nobody thinks this is dodgy. Nobody is saying, it's, you know, what's the Gardaí doing? Right, let's show you this other bit of footage. then what I'm going to try do is I'm going to get the other bit of footage, the late night footage of the Gardaí. Right, as you can hear with that one. This one now is the audio on this is very high, but you have to have a high to hear what's being said here. But again, you know, these type of cars here, big fancy bloody cars showing up as well. We've seen it again all over the country. I just want to make sure that's on the screen for you. It is. Right, let's play this. It's only 21 seconds.
Hey! Assault! Assault! You're a scumbag! As you two should be ashamed.
Look.
Where's the guards now? Where's the guards now? Where's the guards now? Hey! Assault! Assault! You're a scumbag!
So this fella here has his face covered, right? There's the Irish woman there that ends up getting shoved by the car. And of course, he pushed someone there, and there's had to be a reaction, right? But then watch this. There's this fella in the car. Look, masked up he is. Look, with a black hat on him. There, you can just see his eyes there. Look at him. Absolutely disgraceful.
As you too, mate. You should be ashamed. Where's the guards now?
He is. Look, he's moving the car forward.
Where's the guards now? Where's the guards now? Hey!
So, you've just seen it there. I mean, this is, I'm telling you now, this reminds me of things that happened in our past, you know, being invaded, you know, people with masks on coming in, balaclavas, you know, now they're starting to get heavy-handed with people. Now hold on, I'm going to try, I have to send it to here to do it, but I should be able to get that other little bit of footage up for you now. Just bear with me, I have to share it here, but once I share it here, then I can go in and show you this. So they turned up at 2 a.m. the public order unit and the Gardaí at Newtownmountkennedy in County Wicklow, a sleepy little town. Now, the footage that you've seen there, obviously, is in the same area, and this is what's been going on. And, you know, the startling thing about this is that the Irish government have convinced the Irish people that this isn't going on, that it's all propaganda and lies by the imaginary far right. Okay? They're saying that the people that are coming in are legit, and yet we heard from Helen McEntee, who was absolutely destroyed, by the way, at that committee hearing. I mean, I don't know why Simon Harris decided to keep her as Justice Minister, but she is going to be the downfall of this government. Absolutely. She is atrocious. I mean, she's not even good enough to work in a kitchen, let alone run a government ministry. It's an absolute joke how she's even gotten into politics. And we know how she got into politics, folks. You know, it's daddy's old seat, you know, and this is what the problem is in Ireland. Generational politicians as well. We've got to clear them all out. You know, look at the Healy Rays, right? Look at how long is their family in politics, their father, the sons, you know, and think about it as well. You know, their sons will also end up, if they have sons or daughters, will end up being politicians. Now, hold on. I've got this footage here for you now, but I forgot I can't actually big it until I go in here. So I'll do it now. But you know what I mean? We got a real issue here. It's same with RTE as well. There's generational talent in RTE as well. And this is the problem we've had in this country. See, when we did gain our independence, you see, what happened was a lot of the people that fought for our freedom, they either ended up in television or they ended up in government and stuff like that. So if you watch RTE in the early years after, you know, this country became independent, you saw a lot of ex-fighters of the revolution, you know, talking. There was interviews with them. There was a lot of propaganda. Do you know what I mean? All the way through. But that's where you know, that's the issue that we have. The generational thing, it passed on, and that's how at RTE, you know, Jerry Ryan's daughter can get a job in RTE, but what is our qualifications? Well, she's Jerry Ryan's daughter. Do you know what I mean? It's not because she actually has any talent. It's because of the name. And that's the problem we have in Irish politics as well. It goes all the way down, right? The elitist class in this country basically control everything. And that needs to be absolutely destroyed. It's as simple as that. We need to break it all down and rebuild everything. RTE is fundamentally corrupt. And that's the bottom line, you know. Right, let's go back to the start of this video. Let's see if you can actually see it. You absolutely can. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'll do? I'll still talk in the background, but I'll put me down lower here. Should make the video. Yeah, there you go. So you'll be able to see this video now. So let's put the volume up here. And this was sent to me by Lindsay. So special shout out to Lindsay, who's doing our exams at the moment. So good luck with them. Here we go.
These are the men and women.
Now you'll see the Gardaí have been, you know, in the early days of the protests and the protests that I've been at, you know, you'd get the Gardaí to engage with you. But now the new strategy is the Gardaí are told not to react whatsoever. So you're going to see this blank look all the time on their faces. And some of them actually do look like they'd rather be at home in bed, or they'd rather be doing real police work. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, you know, they're part of the problem. The whole system is corrupt, and unfortunately, you know what I mean? In order to change, we're going to need to basically hope that those nationalists that are all running get in at local level and at government level as well. Well, obviously not government level, but that'll never happen, not yet anyway. Too soon for that. But if we can get them in, if we can get enough of them in, then that'll encourage other people. See how it goes. It'll encourage other people then to run, and you'll have a lot more nationalists running then by the time the next election comes along, and then you have a better chance then of getting them into power. But the bottom line is that we cannot wait for a general election next year, folks. So this is the thing. But let's watch this and then I'll finish my point. But we cannot wait till next year.
Here to protect the Irish people. Yeah, this is protecting the Irish people. Coming in at 2 o'clock in the morning, stopping our emergency button, pushing the ladies out of the way that were here, opening the gates, getting in the headies. These Irish men and women, these are the ones supposed to be protecting us. Here they are. The Irish men and women who are here are supposed to be protecting us, the Irish people. Here's every one of their faces for social media to see. They come in at 2 o'clock in the morning. We're supposed to be having meetings on Monday to negotiate. They come in, all of the heavies, they pushed.
Now, did you hear what the woman said there? So they were negotiating. And this is the tactic that the government actually use, right? And this is what the media reports. So the media tell the Irish people, oh, there was negotiations going on, but these far-right agitators made the situation worse and provoked and all of this. Absolute crap. See, this is what they do. They tell the public out there one story, one side of the story, but what they don't actually know, they tell them their propaganda side of the story. But in reality, what's happening is while they're actually distracting or trying to distract these people, right, with negotiations, they're already planning and they're already making steps, and then they pull a stunt like this. And they think that Irish people are not going to bother their arses being there at 2 o'clock in the morning. But what they don't realise is that Irish people all over the country have 24-hour camps, 24/7. There's someone in those camps now. There's someone outside all of these proposed areas where they're putting these people, right? And apparently during the whole scuffle, there was allegedly a 76-year-old was pushed, a cancer survivor, and also a pregnant woman. The same, I think, pregnant woman that the Gardaí refused to let use the toilet, if you remember, when we saw that footage all over social media. Right? This is what the media do. This is what the government do. The media lie and tell the public, oh no, there's negotiations going on. This is just a few people not from the area that are causing trouble. But in reality, locals are on the ground. And what locals have begun to realise is that the media are lying about an imaginary far right. They know now that there are people all over this country that are absolutely concerned about what's going on. Right? And it's this underhanded tactic. Look at the face on this fella here. Look at him. He'd rather be somewhere else, but at the end of the day, you know, he's there. You know? So when I heard those Irish nationalists thanking Gardaí for the good work when they were at the Drogheda the hotel protest, I went absolutely crazy. What are you thanking them for? Don't thank these people. You never thank these people. Right? They're failing in their job. They took an oath to protect the Irish people. They took an oath which they are breaking every single day of the week. Right? Same with the government. Okay? They break every single promise that they've made. Right? It's about time Irish people, well, listen, we've had decades of this with different governments. It's about time that we woke up now. We've got to change the path and the direction that this country is going in, right, for the better. The path that we're going down, this country is going to be absolutely destroyed. It's going to be unrecognizable. Right? Absolutely. And you know what? Yeah, we dishonor the memory of the people that died for our freedoms, man. And this is why people have to start. The people that still are at home, that won't turn up at these protests. Yes, numbers are getting larger, right? But you sent a message to this government during the referendum, and you got out to vote. So take that extra step, you people that are still at home, and join us. Or, as I said, if there's anything going on in your community, right, one of these places turn up, get out there, show your face, hold your head up high, You're an Irish person. Your job is to protect this country, protect its land, and protect its people. That's your job. This is our test.
All the peaceful protesters out of the way. Every single one of these men and women are here to protect the Irish people. These are not protecting the Irish people. These people are not here to protect us Irish people. They're here to do the government's work and whatever the government tells them to do. And that's the end of it. Here is our peaceful protest. Nobody shouting, nobody giving out, nobody acting like hooligans. And yet, this is how they treat us. Like we are nothing. We are nothing. Our voices, the Irish people's voices are nothing.
There you go. Do they look like a far right to you? Because they're not. It's absolutely heartbreaking what's happening. And it's going to get worse, folks. This ain't getting better. That's the reality. And you know, people in the media, TDs, and all their lefty shills on their social media platforms can say different. And they could say that it's exaggeration and it's over the top and all of this. It's absolutely not. And the numbers that are coming in here are terrifying. And if Helen McEntee's shit show at the committee didn't convince you all that it is an absolute shit show and that she's incompetent and she shouldn't be there, none of these people should be in power. Well, then I don't know what else is going to convince you, because when that incident happened outside Parnell Square, outside the school, right, that wasn't enough. Aisling Murphy wasn't enough. The two lads in Sligo weren't enough. The crimes that are committed daily, as we've seen, right, is not enough. What is it going to take for Irish people out there that are still convinced that Ireland isn't full, that it is, and that we need to stop right now, and then reassess every single person that's come into this country over this government's term? Because it is absolutely staggering the amount of people that they have granted citizenship to in this country. Absolutely staggering. And it's funny that some of those people that were made citizens are actually running in local elections and will run more than likely in general elections. And nobody is saying, oh, hang on a minute, that there's something a bit wrong here. That sounds a bit bogey. Because for me, it's as simple as this, right? To me, that's election rigging and that's election interference. Because as I said, when one of these people come into this country and are granted citizenship by the current government that's actually in power, who do you think those people are going to vote for? They're not going to vote for the other parties. They're going to vote for the people that gave them citizenship, which means the current government. As I said, the only way the current government wins this general election is if it's rigged. And that's why they want so many to come in. That's why they wanted the referendum to pass, because the more they bring in and then the more citizenships they give. Oh, don't forget to vote the current government, blah, 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 winky wink. So it's definitely rigging of this election, and it stinks. And it stinks. And I tell you something, don't get me wrong, I'll be absolutely surprised I will be absolutely shocked if this current government does get back in. I will be absolutely gutted because I will have predicted it. They've rigged it. So even during the local general election, people want to stay vigilant, right? Because in the current climate, especially in the political world, you know, let's just say that some of the elections around the world, you know, have looked like they've been rigged. And if you think it can't happen in this little country of ours, well, then you're naive. It's as simple as that you are, because it can happen absolutely anywhere. And we are a corrupt country because of our politicians. We absolutely are. I would say we're probably one of the most corrupt countries in the world. I'd say we're in the top 5 now. And it's absolutely disgusting. And by the way, they're not taking all these people in for nothing. I think people don't realise the amount of money that's being made here. You know, and promises of money from Europe and all of that. You know what I mean? And this is why we need another thing that Irish people really need to consider. Now, obviously, the people in the UK voted out to get out of Europe. And the British government didn't handle it well. And it ended up being a bit of a shit show for them. But I do believe that we would get it right. I think the mistakes have been seen. And you would like to think that if we had politicians that were smart enough, they could figure their way out of this. But we definitely need to be getting out of Europe. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Europe hasn't benefited Ireland, but it has at the cost of our sovereignty, and it has the fact that we don't even control our own budgets. We don't even make our own laws in this country anymore. And every budget that the government wants to pass, they have to go to Europe first to get approval for that budget. So we don't actually control anything. Basically, the Irish government are puppets on a string. They basically are the delivery system for what goes on in Brussels, right? That's the end game, right? That's what it is. And you know, I will tomorrow. I did want to talk about this, but I will tomorrow. Helen McEntee banging on about how the Irish people voted for this, and she was talking in relation to the Lisbon Treaty. So I want to talk about that, because I remember even at that time the Nice Treaty and the Lisbon Treaty was very highly controversial in this country, and the Irish people originally voted no, but the government at the time used bully tactics and fear tactics to get the Irish people to change their vote from a no to a yes. So, you know, the Irish government basically, as I said, used fear and intimidation basically to win that. So no, the Irish people were actually bullied into that. And I want to actually talk about that tomorrow, because Helen McEntee, as I said, will be the one that will bring down this government, because she's an absolute disgrace. She's an absolute disgrace. I've never, listen, we've had politicians in this country that have made me pull my hair out over the years, but I have never, ever, ever came across a minister as bad at her job as Helen McEntee is at hers. Seriously. And how she became justice minister is beyond me. I mean, how she became minister of anything is just absolutely baffling to me. I mean, I would even do a better job. It's not that hard. You know what I mean? If migrants have come over here from a European country and those European countries say, oh, we'll take them back, Well, then I'm sending them back. She doesn't. She sends 3 back or something, and she keeps the rest. That's how incompetent our Justice Minister is. Do you remember last year she was coming out with the spiel, Dublin is safe? And within 24 hours of making that statement, right, there was people running around with knives and machetes. Right? Unbelievable. Listen, if the government was a multi-corporation, right, and say the Irish government was a board of directors, right, and the people are the shareholders, right, so the Irish people are shareholders, they're the board of directors, and Ireland is the company, right? What you tell me and what our business, they would allow the board to stay in that board when they've run the business into the ground. What shareholder would say, hang on, yeah, that's great, keep doing what you're doing? Not nobody in their right mind that owns a business would do that, right? The shareholders would demand that the board resign. And this is what has to happen here. The Irish people now, you know, I said it was kind of grand when Simon got in because it gave the Irish nationalists time, right? But unfortunately, I have to say, we can't wait till next year for a general election, right? It has to happen before the end of the year, because they've also stated that they're pushing through this hate speech bill. Yes, it's going to be amended, but it's still a hate speech bill. So they're going to regulate what you say, right? You can actually be arrested for what you say. So what I'm actually saying here today, in a few months' time, this could be considered hate speech. And it probably more than likely will be. Right? So we can't wait till next year. And if you see what they're doing now, Newtownmountkennedy, trust me, they're doing it everywhere else. We just probably haven't heard of it because they've probably been able to go under the radar there. So we can't wait. It has to happen. I would say, look, give nationalists a little bit more time, maybe September, October, but it definitely has to happen before Christmas. And this is why listen, you know, the national protests are not enough anymore. I said this now, all of these locations dotted around Ireland that have these camps, what has to happen now, there has to be, we all have to get together, decide what parts of the country we're going to go to and support all of these people. And I mean, we'll have to have large crowds go. And then when there's a big protest to be had, then get everybody from the whole corners of this country to turn up. We can't mess around now. I mean, look, we've had the momentum. A lot of people that have been on the ground, they work tirelessly, and you know what? They have gotten us to this point. But now we need to take another step now. Even though we've got the momentum, we've got to take that next step now. And that next step is to literally, you know, shut this country down. We've got to find some way legally, because, you know, we've got to do things properly this time. We have a bloody history, and, you know, nobody on our side ever condones violence and never will. It's the other side that like to do that, and then they brag that it's us, but in reality it's them. But the Irish farmers could have helped us win this a lot faster and bring this government down. But they're actually doing their little negotiations now, and the usual, selling out. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say every Irish farmer selling out, because I know there's a faction of Irish farmers that don't agree with the IFA, right? And that's the Irish Farmers Association, for anybody out there that doesn't know who the IFA is. And they're doing that little deal with the government to stop farmers from protesting, right? Now, I do know there are farmers that are against this, right? But what I'd say to those farmers is, listen, there's still some of you that are against what's going on, right? And whether you believe the media about an imaginary far right or not, the bottom line is, and I'm going to say this to everybody out there, including the communities out there that refuse help from anybody else in the country, right? It's time to put that all aside, right? We all have one objective, right? We all might have different reasons why we're angry with the Irish government, right? But we all are in one similar mind when it comes to the failure of this government and the fact that this government have not lived up to their job, right? They have failed miserably time and time again, right? So this isn't about who is far right and who is this, that, and the other, right? The focus should be on the government. And what they've done very cleverly, along with the media's help, is they divided us. That's exactly what they want, because if they have a fractured society, they can do all of this with ease, right? Because they'll have one side, which is the left, screaming everybody's a racist, blah, 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 blah. Then you have the media then helping with that narrative and pushing that narrative. And then you have TDs and Dáil and also pushing that narrative, right? So it's divided the country, right? Because some people, if you give your views, you're far right. And we've got to change that mentality, right? We've got to say to these people, hang on a minute, but if you're angry with the government just as much as I am, but I have different reasons to be angry with them, why can't we all come together as one to take them down? To basically come out in large numbers, bring this whole country to a standstill, or at least bring Dublin to a standstill, right? Bring it all to a standstill. Could you imagine the chaos? Right? Irish people, when they protested back in the day, they literally brought Dublin city down. Go back and watch the marches of the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. Right? You'll never see in a protest like that nowadays. Right? We've gotten close. Right? But you go back in the day, there's RTE footage and all there is on YouTube and all that archive and all of that other stuff. And go back and watch Irish people back in the day, because it wasn't just the working class, right? The farmers, right, came together, the bus drivers, whoever it was that was pissed off with the government, nurses, doctors, you name it, they all came together and they marched together. Or if they didn't march together, one would have a march one day, the group would have their march the next day, and so on and so on and so on. There'd be weeks of marches. So, as I said, it's up to the Irish people what kind of country you want to live in. And if you want to live in the Ireland that this government, the NGOs and the lefties want, well then, good for you. I'm almost sad for you, right? Because I do believe that if we go down that route, we're going to lose what it is to be Irish. And, you know, when you look throughout our history, do you really want to be the people that failed in keeping the Irish spirit, Irish culture, tradition alive? We've seen recently on Virgin Media, wasn't it, one of those breakfast shows? Who was it? The Ivan Yates slagging off the Irish language. Now, my one regret is this, right? I don't claim to speak fluent Irish because I don't, right? But when I was in primary school, we learned Irish, and I loved it. And my one regret is that I never actually continued it, and that's on me, right? That is on me. Well, it's partly on me because I'll make a counter argument for that. See, the problem I have with the current educational system is that you learn Irish to a certain age, and then when you go to secondary school, then they give you foreign languages to learn. Instead of continuing speaking your own native language, which it is, Irish is our native language, right? And in fairness, you know, I think all Irish people should make more of an effort to speak Irish. But, you know, when you see the cavalier comments by Yates and all of these other people, it does boil me blood, because there are a few places in Ireland that obviously preserve the Irish language. But I think we should be all fluent. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that the Irish people would suddenly all start speaking Irish again. That could be a situation. That could happen, but I doubt it. I reckon we'd still speak English, but we'd have Irish as our second language. But we'd be fluent in it. Everybody would be fluent in it. But that's my problem with the educational system. It's not continued, and it should be preserved. That's the failure of the Irish government and the school system. Do you know what I mean? It should be preserved. But yet they don't want to waste money according to them. It's about money to preserve your own language, to preserve your own culture. We don't do enough in this country. Now, I will say when I went to school in the 80s, we did. You know, religion was a very big thing, but Irish was a big thing as well. But we'd learn all the Celtic stories. You know, we'd even Jordan Easter and all of the holy days. We'd do something special, whether it was making crosses, traditional crosses, and all of this. Like, you know what I mean? That's gone now. There's not many schools around the country that do that, but that should be part of the curriculum. You have to. The buck stops with the government. It stops with the government every time. They're the ones, the failure. Catherine there says, the Irish Own, did you know there is no government of Ratgar went to London HQ 2019, signed off the government of Ireland in all caps, business company listed on Dun and Broad Street, proxy government null and void. Also, Gardaí, a private security company, and you've given the listing there. Our G4. I remember G4 very well. I will leave this here. I have proof also. Coverage 2018 signed off. Blah, 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 blah. I'll throw your comments up there. I don't think they could really keep that secret, to be quite honest with you. There'd be apps. Listen, if that was the case, and I'm not saying you said you have proof, and that's fair enough. I won't ever listen. This is me, right? I will never actually mock anybody if they if they think they're onto something. So if you have proof to back that up, and the Irish government are not actually, they're not running the show anyway because Europe are. So, I mean, but if you're telling me that it's not actually Europe, it's the British government, then, if you could prove that, well, that would be big news. That would be big news. So, good luck to you if you can prove it. But I will say this, these politicians that are in that Dáil Éireann, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. The Irish zone, I was outside Forecourt's witness circle, G4S above the Gardaí. The Garda. Listen, I do know there is a private entity that can be heard, because I did a bit of digging myself. The Irish zone, there are true Irish folk behind the scenes exposing this. Well, true Irish. Well, I'm Irish. I'm from Dublin. I mean, you can't get many more Irish than that. Behind the scenes exposed. Well, why is it behind the scenes? I mean, if you have something credible, why not put it out publicly? Because we need something to bring this Irish government down. And if you have what you would call a smoking gun in the journalism industry, well, then why wouldn't you expose it? Again, as I said, if you could prove this, fair play to you. And if you do prove it, I'll even cover it here. But the bottom line is this, it's all well and good doing things behind the scenes, but we need, it was the same with that phone that was dropped in Coolock. A lot of stuff came from that. That exposed certain individuals in this country. So look, as I said, you can't rule out nowadays. So even though that sounds absolutely crazy what you've just written there, that could be true for all I know. But as I said, if you can prove this, then why hang on to it? Why hang on to it? Unless these are still compiling information, then I get that. But, the quicker this gets out, the better, because we need something. I mean, that'll tip the whole thing. I mean, if you're telling me that the Irish government are actually, cap in hand to the British government, that is going to be the biggest. I mean, if there are Irish people out there, and I mean this, if there are Irish people out there that say they're happy with that, if that is true, then you know what? You can just leave, just go. You are treacherous, right? We shouldn't be beholden to no power except their own. Jesus Christ. You are a genuine true Irishman. We need more numbers. Oh, we're getting numbers. I mean, I've been on the ground. I've been to Coolock as well. The numbers are getting bigger. I do share your frustration though, because as I said earlier in the stream, there's still a lot of people that won't show their faces because fear, intimidation from the radical left. And the problem that you have though is that the media are giving the radical left a lot of time to spew their nonsense and hatred and fear and propaganda all over the airwaves, whether it's TV or radio. So, and then they're doing it on social media as well. So, we've got to break that cycle. So if you can somehow break that cycle and break that flow of information and actually expose all of this, then you're onto something. But the Irish government already know that. That's why they want to bring in the hate speech laws, because then you streams that like this. There's other channels that have been doing this kind of stuff as well on YouTube. Then YouTube will be obliged to take down what the Irish government deem as hate speech. It'll be the same with X. It'll be any social media platform that you're on. So basically, what they're trying to do right now with this hate speech bill is control the flow of information, right? And it's a blatant attack on democracy. It's a blatant attack on free speech. I'm not saying go out there and be bloody racist to someone. Do you know what I mean? But the bottom line is that when you grow up in a democracy, you're free to share your feelings. You're free to share your thoughts without worrying that if someone feels impacted by what you've said, you can end up going to prison. So, it's crazy. And then this other narrative as well that the left put out is that the far right don't want any migrants in the country, right? That's a blatant lie anyway, right? Ideally, right, it would be a great utopia in Ireland if I could, or if the government could guarantee that our youth stay here and put all the processes in place for them so they feel like they don't have to leave home. And then we could greatly reduce the amount of people that we take into this country looking for work, because we wouldn't have to, because we'd have our own skilled workforce that would be engineers, doctors, nurses, and all these other the lefty jobs that they throw out. Well, they're over here to do this, that, and the other, right? But if we actually made more of an effort of trying to keep our youth here, right, and gave them opportunities here and made it affordable so they can actually buy their home, and set their roots here in Ireland, rather than having to go to Australia or America or Canada to make a life for themselves. And another lefty delusion that I want to actually smash as well. They say, what about all the Irish people that are abroad? Yeah, they work. Because if they didn't work, they'd be back here, wouldn't they? They're qualified nurses, doctors, and all these engineers that you talk about, but they can't get a job here, right? They can't get a job here because the government have failed them. So they feel like they have to leave this country and go elsewhere to make a life for themselves. But their good life should be here in Ireland. That's the bottom line. They should be able to stay here, right? When an Irish couple get together and decide to have kids, right, they shouldn't have to worry about whether their kids are going to leave one day, right? They should be safe in the knowledge to know that they have a government in place and the structures in place to keep their child here in this country, right? The only time you should be going abroad is going on holidays and exploring the world, right? But your place should always be home, right? Ireland, right? But if the government did all of these things, right, and made it the housing affordable, a first-time part, all of that, right, and the paying conditions were good for all of our so-called engineers, doctors, nurses, and all of this, right, we wouldn't lose them to Australia or New Zealand or Canada or America. And then the numbers then of migrants you'd have coming into this country would completely flatline anyway, right? Because your workforce would be here. They wouldn't be gone elsewhere to earn a living, right? So Irish governments, decades of Irish government, multiple Irish governments have failed the youth in that respect, right? So we got a lot of problems in this country. It's not always, there's easy solutions to some, there's not so easy solutions for others, but there are definitely ideas that, that if you implement it, it'd be a lot better for our youth. Time and time again, there's a lost generation of youth, and it's happening again. It's absolutely disgusting. There's this show, well, Irish people will know this, but for the non-Irish people that listen to me, there's a show by RTE, when RTE were actually half decent. There's a show that they've done reeling in the years, right? And it covers Ireland throughout the decades. And when you get to the 80s, right, you will see in one particular, in multiple particular shows, because they do 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, all the way up to 19. They go all the way up, right? But what you'll notice about the 80s is you'll have a lot of footage of Irish young people having to leave this country to look for a better job. And they even say, we're leaving. We don't want to live. We don't want to live, but we have to live. Right? And some of these people end up in America, they end up in Australia, they end up in Canada, like they've always went. They always go to those places, Irish people, New Zealand, you know, they do pick their places, you know, but they had to go. Even some went to England. In the 80s, a lot of Irish men went to England. You know, they became carpenters, bricklayers, all of this. So when they left, give you this argument that, well, what about the Irish people that went abroad for decades? Yeah, they worked. They worked. They weren't claiming dole. They weren't getting everything handed to them. They had to work. And that's what we've been saying. You know, if you're coming to Ireland, you come to work. You don't come here because you heard that Ireland's great to get a house and benefits and all of this other shit. Right? That's not what you're here for. You're either here to work or you can get the fuck out of here. Right? And if you do come here, right, if you don't have a job within the first year of being here, but then you get deported. Simple as that. You know, that's how simple this should be. And as I said earlier in the stream, you got to reassess all of those people that were given citizenship in this country in the last, the life of this government, and maybe the previous one as well. Because I can guarantee you that the way Irish politicians do their jobs, right, and we've seen throughout our past with Irish governments, it's not always above board. It just, as I said, there'll be things that we could do that will make a difference straight away, and there'll be other things that we can do that will take a little bit longer. But look, the bottom line is, if we can root out the old foundations and put in new foundations, stronger foundations that will help our youth and the Irish people flourish, then we have a chance. So right now we're the weed killer to the government's roots, basically. Yeah, Catherine, thank you for popping in. And listen, whenever you are ready to drop that stuff publicly, if you want to do it here and you have and if you want to, or if you want to send me the information so I can talk about it, then that's up to yourself. Let me know anyway. You can let me know in the comment section after this later on or whenever. But yeah, if you're interested in that, let me know, because that would be an interesting stream to do indeed. But look, folks, you know, it's the situation is getting dire with each day. And while we have defeated this government referendum, while we will probably defeat them in the next referendum just out of spite, it's not enough. And they're going to continue their agenda. And if we wait, as I said, if we wait till June, And, you know, I thought it was a good idea originally. And I did say, a lot of people were saying general election now. And I was like, no. Let's bide our time a little bit here, right? And the justification for that was that Irish nationalists, as you know, some of them, not all of them, right, but some of them, right, and the people that are close to me that I know, they're the ones I'm talking about. They've been on the ground and they've been supporting other communities across the country. There's others out there that just show up for their photo opportunity and their little bit of media time and then they feck off, right? But there are ones that are on the ground all the time, right? Every day of the fucking week, like Fergus Power, right? Like Eric English, like Kevin, right? Who's running in Coolock, Darndale area, right? You got some good people, right, that are running. Now they're canvassing now because they've been busy around all the communities. And that was my justification for waiting for a general election, to give nationalists more time to actually get out there, knock on doors, tell people what they stand for, and, you know, try get that public support. And if anything's to go by, we've seen the reaction towards Fergus Power. He has been getting absolutely wonderful reaction from the communities that he's representing. The same with Kevin, the same with Eric and everybody else that's running. There has been a warm welcome towards nationalists out there, right? And this is why it was important to give them time to canvass, right? But we haven't got time now, unfortunately. We actually don't. We have to have a general election before next year. Because as I said, the government is pushing through this hate speech bill, right? And then I won't be able to do these streams here on YouTube. That's how bad it'll get, right? So they'll be stopping the flow of information from our side to all you guys that are out there that are willing to search for this information and support us. And my plan was as well, I do be at these protests as well. I was going to be putting footage up here on the YouTube channel, again, giving it more exposure to show people what's actually going on at these protests, because when the media report on it, they lie. They lie. They take everything out of context, or they agitate the crowd, and then the media report, oh, far-right agitators, right, when it's not even them. And by the way, people, I've seen it, right, because I've been there on the ground, right? I was in Dublin that night when this lunacy happened. And I was live streaming on X, right, showing everybody what was going on. And it was absolute carnage. But I seen things that night that did not make sense either, right? That whole riot, if you want to call it that, was an operation, right? It was a false flag, right? They tried to say it was the far right that did that. It wasn't the far right that did that. I would actually go as far as to say that the radical left had their hands all over this. And all of these climate change that's happening to buildings, I'm telling you out straight now that I believe it's the radical left behind all of these. Because it's a funny that when nationalists go out to support these communities, after they leave, right, these lefty twerps are giving out about it, and then all of a sudden that night then something happens. They're responsible. And that's who the media is giving a platform to all over their bleeding platforms, right? And the same with Virgin Media News, RTE, they're all at it. Anyway, we will be discussing Helen McAtee tomorrow again, because, you know, as I said, she will be the woman that will take down this government. And let's hope it's sooner rather than later. But what we actually need now is we need a smoking gun. We need something. And we need something big. And we need something fast. Because the longer this goes on, the more worrying the situation's going to get. And you're going to see it. Those images that you've seen in those videos will become, well, it is already a frequent occurrence all over the country, but you're going to see a lot more of it. You're going to see a lot more of it. You're going to see Irish women in distress. You're going to see Irish men distressed. What's happening in their communities. And that's the bottom line, folks. These people are trying to protect their communities. These aren't their far right. There is no far right all over Europe like they've tried to make out. Right? There isn't. It's concerned citizens in each and every one of those countries that are concerned about government policy, which is destroying their communities and their country as a whole. Anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure coming on. I want to thank everybody that has subscribed in the last couple of days, actually. Been blown away from the reaction. As I said, want to mix it up on this channel with live streams, video footage, shorts if any footage comes up on social media that you won't get to see anywhere else on the news. I'll throw it up, and of course, as I always try to do, whoever's posted that footage, I will give credit in the link description. So then if you want to go and follow those people as well who are also reporting on this, or maybe in the thick of it on the ground, then you're more than welcome to follow those people as well. But I'll leave it there for now, folks, and I just want to thank you all for tuning in, and we will be back tomorrow. So have a good evening, and as I said, look after yourselves and take care.